Catus, Maximus here, this time with an original Thorsen Model 77. Just like the Skill Saw 77, although take you a while to cut some wood with this. This is one of those open head ratchets. Although it's semi-open head, they do have protection around it. Not many manufacturers make this style ratchet anymore, just because obviously if you use it in really dirty environments, it tends to clog up the anvil in there, making it want to slip and not work as reliably. Overall though, it's not too bad. If it ever gets that gunked up, just hosing it down with some brake cleaner or just carefully prying off the cover ring and you can clean it up pretty good. These ratchets were basically made because they were cheaper than a standard pear head or sealed head ratchet or even a round head ratchet, and you get a pretty small and compact design. Right Tools still makes one. They're about 60 bucks, but Right doesn't have a metal protective cover, and that's actually pretty important because if you drop these or something, getting crud in here is one thing, but dropping it and denting the anvil, the little gear teeth on there, really bad news. And you'll have this one spot where it always skips. Overall, the Thorsen isn't too bad, and if you're wondering where I come up with all these ratchets, I have a secret supplier of ratchets. I did review this in Destro Select, so I could actually compare a couple of similar vintage ratchets. Before I forget though, you'll know you have an original American-made Thorsen because you have the sans serif, or the font that is just a straight line font. You know that if you have the serif font, that's a font that has the little things on it. You can see the difference here. This is after basically Thorsen was either going out of business or went out of business. And they were just keeping the name around, throwing it on Taiwanese tools. So those aren't as good as the original ones. And yes, I did review a Thorsen 77C, so now I have the matching 77 open head ratchet. I am pretty lucky that way. If we do compare to the Indestro, I kind of like the flat handle of the Indestro just a bit more than the round handle, but not by much. I do like a nice knurled handle, and this certainly fits the bill. No hole in the handle for hanging it like the Indestro has. As far as overall build quality, I say they're both about the same overall quality, but in different areas. We can see on the Indestro, they didn't break the edge on the reverse lever where they did on the Thorsen. And the Indestro, you can see how they have this clip. There's actually a little lip that's been forged in the top of this fork here, and so this is rolled over, provides pretty good sealing, and then it has a little tab to keep it from falling off. On the Thorsen, they actually have these chamfers, and the chamfers is what keep this centered with a little tab. But if we look on the bottom side here, we can see that on the Indestro, they did chamfer the anvil where they did not on the Thorsen. So it's kind of a give and take. I think the head on the Indestro is just it may be stronger. It seems like it would be a little bit stronger just because you have a little bit thicker webbing here than you do on the Thorsen. And then they use a smaller hole on top, so you have just much more material here than you do on the top of the Thorsen. It's about the same on the bottom. But on the converse side, we can see that this cross-section here, the forks themselves are a little bit thicker on the Thorsen, or on the Thorsen, than they are on the Indestro. So I think they're both just about the same quality ratchet, but it is neat having these because they are reliable, they're simple, and they are compact. As far as how strong the detent is on this Thorsen, it's actually pretty strong. I wouldn't say, once again, it's about perfect. It's strong enough where you're not going to have sockets or even long extensions falling off, but not so strong that you need a screwdriver. I do like that it's really tight tolerance. The socket really fits up tightly there, and I have noticed that on some of these ratchets. On the Indestro, there's still even a little bit more space, so I do like how compact this is. One thing I did want to show real fast here, that I'm going to have to get super zoom. Let me see here. I got to get just the right level. There we go. You can see right there, it appears to be a scratch. But this, you can just see the difference in metal there. This is part of the press fit ring. These are installed via press fitting. Usually it's the anvil piece that goes into the pawls. This is a little bit different on this Thorsen. And you can see that's actually a crack. that goes all the way through. It hasn't slipped. I put some force on it. I haven't had any issues with it slipping, but it's something to keep track of. That's something that probably happened, more than likely, not from it getting too hot, but from it being left in some environment where it may have gotten, you know, well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, where it just contracted enough to cause it to crack. It's pretty rare to see something like that on a hand tool, so that's why I wanted to point it out. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this. To tell you the truth, I did review this Thorsen 77C roundhead ratchet, and I thought it was a pretty decent ratchet, but it was more standard. It didn't use any kind of special design. There's a variety of roundhead ratchets that are better than this, but it wasn't as bad as the Pennons or the old Challengers roundheads. It's certainly better than that, but not super great. But I find that this Thorsen right here is just a bit more satisfying. I do like it quite a bit. If we even compare head height here, we can see that it's quite a bit shorter than its roundhead counterpart, and the head's quite a bit narrower. So it certainly was more competitive product, at least as far as access and usability, than Thorsen's own roundhead 77C roundhead ratchet. Let me put this down. I do have one of the Harbor Freight Icon ratchets here. If we compare thickness to that Pear head, it's really on par. It's not bad at all. The other thing is, if we look at standard Pear heads, you actually do have a lot more clearance on these open head style ones, so they can provide just a little bit more swing under certain situations. And I guess for one other comparison to really show how compact the head is on these, here's my back from when AutoZone actually sold tools that were worth buying. Duralast 1/2-inch compact head ratchet. And we can see that it's only just it's a little bit longer, maybe a 1/4 inch longer or so. And then as far as head diameter, about the same, about a 1/4 inch. So it's really pretty compact, almost as small as an actual compact head 1/2-inch ratchet. So there is still a reason to look for these, maybe buy them. If you're constantly working in situations where you just have really restricted access, this would provide a reliable solution. And one last thing I'll mention about this style of ratchet is the fact that due to the nature of that pawl, these just do not lock up. These will never, ever, ever lock up on you. And the other thing is, there's just the way these pawls are set up, it's very difficult to get them caught in the center. And really, it's pretty unrealistic to actually accidentally bump it. Sometimes, maybe if you're holding like this, but you don't have to really worry about it slipping either. They're actually surprisingly reliable. And I guess come to think of it, I'm even surprised that manufacturers still aren't making these as much as they used to, because they're still a valid design. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.